Welcome. I'm Martha Constantinides, and thank you for tuning in to BCAM TV. Allow me to introduce you to our special guest and host, District 5 Town Councilor and Council President Meredith Boericke. Thanks for joining us, Meredith.
Thank you for having me, Martha. I'm delighted to be here.
So excited to have you here. So you'll be hosting a new show here very soon that really revolves around the town of Braintree. And with you being so heavily involved in the town, could you just give me a little bit about your background and what titles you hold?
Yeah, I would be happy to. And so that residents know a little bit more about me. My great-grandparents immigrated to Braintree in the late 1890s. My grandmother was born in 1909 on Academy Street, and my mom also grew up in Braintree, and today we live in the house that my grandparents bought in 1946. So I'm so happy to be raising my own two children in the town that has given my family so much over the years and decades. And as a town councilor, I am the District 5 town councilor. So District 5 is right in the middle of town. It's the only district that doesn't touch another community. And currently I am the town council president.
Great. Wow. So your family has been in the town for many years. That's awesome. So do you hold any other titles within the town that isn't involved with the town council, or is it just town council right now?
It is just town council, and that is definitely plenty, and it allows me to devote myself to that part of my job.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you for that. Could you expand a little bit on local government now and how local government works? I know there's a lot to that, but could you just explain like the hierarchy, if there is a hierarchy in Braintree's government, and how that kind of functions?
Yeah, I would be happy to. And one of the things that I always like to say to residents is local government matters. It matters so much, because really your day in and day out life, whether it's the school buses arriving at your house on time, the potholes being filled, the crosswalks being painted, is all part of the role of local government in your life. So the way that Braintree is set up, unlike some of the towns in the state, is we have a mayor and we have a town council. The mayor and his staff are full-time work for the town. The Mayor Kokoros, is the town's sort of chief executive officer. The town council is made up of 9 members, and we are part-time. We receive a small stipend for our work, and almost all of us also work regular paying 9-to-5 jobs in addition to the work that we do for the residents. So thank you to the residents for being patient. If you don't always receive a response straight away, it's because we have 2 jobs most of the time. So and the council, I should say, also has 9 members who are all elected. There's 6 district councilors, and I'm the District 5 councilor, and then we have 3 councilors at large. And if you've heard that term, that just means they represent the entire community rather than one singular district.
I see. Okay, so could you go a little bit into the town council and how they aid the town hall?
Yeah, I would be happy to. I love being on the town council because it's really the conduit for residents to get to town hall. Of course, any resident can call town hall, but your town councilor is there to help you navigate town hall, who you should call, who you can talk to, who you can contact if you have an issue or concern. Your counselor can also help advocate for issues in your neighborhood that you might need help addressing, whether it's traffic or pest control or some other very hyper-local issue that might just be specific to your individual neighborhood. So your counselors are there to represent you, to bring your voice and your needs to be addressed at town hall, and also to advocate on your behalf.
Yeah, so going into that a little bit more, so if there is a certain issue or something that pops up that comes from a resident, how would that get taken in to the town council, and then I guess how would it be addressed through the town government?
Yep, there's a couple of different avenues for residents to bring issues to our attention. Some of the issues that I frequently deal with, probably the most common, is traffic concerns. So what residents can do is contact their counselor, and we can help try to resolve an individual traffic concern. If the concern is bigger or requires multiple departments' input, then one avenue that we will work with residents on is through our committee process. So the council has many committees. One, for example, is the Public Safety Committee. They deal with issues of traffic, among other things. And the council has a process for getting an issue to the committee. The committees spend a lot of time digging into issues, researching, evaluating, speaking to local experts, whether it's town staff or others, to really help understand what can be done, how issues can be resolved, and hopefully bring a resolution to the resident.
Okay, so I heard you mention a little bit earlier that there are 9 members on the committee. So could you just tell me a little bit? So I know there's a difference between appointed officials and elected officials. Now, could you just explain the difference between those two and what the town council is?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the town council has 9 members, like you said, and the 9 councilors are elected. So you have to run for your position, you have to acquire signatures, you have to get your name on the ballot, you have to convince people that, that you would work hard on their behalf. Appointed officials, all of our other boards and commissions that help oversee the day-to-day work of the town. So the planning board, the zoning board of appeals, the conservation commission. You can go on the town's website and you will see so many boards and commissions that help our community run. All of those are appointed, and they're appointed by the mayor, whoever the mayor is at the time. And the council does approve those appointments, but the mayor makes the appointments and decides who should be sitting on the boards and commissions.
Okay, and now is that similar within the mayor's staff as well? I'm just curious if they were also appointed or elected, or how that would work as well.
The mayor's staff is, he hires the staff, or many of the staff have, and we are so fortunate here in Braintree, have been with the town for many, many years, which means we have a level of expertise that you don't find in every community. So we are very lucky to have the staff that we have working hard every day on behalf of our residents.
Yeah, so going a little bit further into town government and actually state government, how do state representatives and senators play a part in local government?
That is a great question, and one of the things I try to do as a District 5 counselor and also as the council president is make sure that I have a line of communication to our state delegation. So that means our state senators, and we have 2 state senators representing Braintree. We have Senator Keenan and Senator Timilty, and they represent different parts of our town, and also our state representative, Mark Cusack. So ways that our state delegation can help us is by advocating for things that come from the Commonwealth, from the state. So whether it's a state road that needs repairs or upgrades and we need to help get funding for that, or other issues that are handled at the state level, that's where our state officials who are elected really play in such an important part in our local government and our local community.
Yeah, absolutely. So going a little bit into some of the other committees that you mentioned a little bit earlier, how often do the other committees actually get pulled in, or do you ask of them to assess different questions or concerns that come up from residents? How often does that happen?
I think that's a great question, Martha, and you can see I'm, get very excited about the municipal workings, because I know before I was a counselor, sometimes if you're watching the council meetings on BCAM, you think, my gosh, there's barely any discussion about this issue. The councilors just voted on it. That's, if that's what you think and that's how it appears, that's because so much of the work goes on behind the scenes, and I don't mean that it's not public. All the committee meetings are public, but a lot of work is done in the committee meetings, and we rely on our committees to do that work and bring their recommendation to the council. So to answer your question, it depends. It depends on how much work each committee has to do. So what we have upcoming this month, in the month of May, is our budget review process. The town budget may seem like a boring document, but it is what makes the town run day in and day out, and for the services that all of our residents count on and frankly deserve. So over the next month, I think we have scheduled close to 10 Ways and Means, that's the committee that oversees the budget and finances of the town, meetings to review the town budget. So I encourage residents to tune in to those departments or those budgets that you might have particular interest in. It can be golf, it could be the schools. We go over it all line by line to really understand what our town's financial outlook is. Other committees might not have quite as heavy a workload because the issues are either not time sensitive, we have to vote on the budget within a certain amount of time, or the workload might just be a little bit lighter. So committees meet when there are issues that need to be discussed, and the length and time of those meetings is really dependent on the committee chairs and the issues before them.
Gotcha. Okay. So honing in a little bit on town council specifically. So as you said, 9 members. You guys meet how frequently?
We meet usually twice a month as a full council, generally speaking, the first and third Tuesdays at 7:30.
Okay, so can you just tell me a little bit more about how many districts there are in Braintree and who represents those districts?
Yeah, you bet. There are 6 districts in Braintree, and the districts are divided as evenly as possible by population. So not by voters, but by population, and that is based on the US Census. So every 10 years, those districts are reevaluated. And we just went through that process after the 2020 census was complete. And if residents want to know what district they live in, you can check on the town website, braintreema.gov, and you can find your street and the district it is in. So District 1, and I'll try my best to give you some hallmarks in each of the districts. District 1 is represented by Councilor Julia Flaherty, and District 1 is has the plaza, the high school, that area of town, and I'm majorly shrinking these districts here, so forgive me. District 2 is represented by Councilor Joseph Reynolds. That is in the Elm Street area and over by the police station. District 3 is represented by Councilor Elizabeth Maglio. That is East Braintree. District 4 is represented by Stephen O'Brien, Councilor Stephen O'Brien. A lot of that is in the landing area and over towards Pond Meadow Park. District 5 is my district. Like I said, that encompasses really a lot of the central area of town. So Town Hall, the fire station headquarters, the library. District 6 is represented by Councilor Mackin, and that is over in the Highlands part of town. And then we have our 3 at-large councilors, and they represent the entire community. And that is Councilor Shannon Hume, Councilor Charlie Ryan, and Councilor David Ringus.
Awesome. You answered my next question. I was going to say, who are the 3 extras with the 6 districts? Yeah. Okay, perfect. So can you just tell me a little bit of what a day in the life of a town councilor would look like? Yeah, you bet.
So there are probably lots of different issues coming forward in any given day to a councilor. So, we have, again, you can reach the town council through braintreema.gov. But it would consist of responding to constituent questions, resident questions, helping residents navigate town hall, whether it's who to contact, issues that may need to be elevated, issues that are concerning or serious that may need to go to a committee, and really working with residents, whether over email or phone, or I have office hours every Sunday. Residents can either pop in virtually or meet me at Dunkin', depending on the Sunday. So it's making sure that residents feel heard, listened to, and can be empowered to get the answers they need through town hall. And then, of course, we have our council work that we have to do to really help the town government work efficiently and productively on behalf of our residents. So that requires a lot of reading and writing and questioning. So every and all of the documents that I have access to and that I get as a counselor are available to all residents. You can pull all of the council papers from the website. It's exactly the same information that the counselors are getting. It's available to you. So it would be that means reading all of the material that will be coming before the council, asking questions that you want answers to, explanations for things that are before us, so that I can make an informed decision about how I might vote on any particular issue.
Okay. So if you were to, so if residents were to come with you with a concern, how would you, I guess, if there was like an upcoming meeting that you were addressing that at, how would you prepare for that meeting?
Yeah, that's a great question. So typically what happens is, like I said, we will get a packet of documents, and it will be a letter. If the issue is coming before the council from the mayor's office, it will include a memo or a letter from the mayor or the member of his staff who's putting the issue before us. That lays out sort of the reasoning behind the whatever the thing is. And then the expectation is that you have all this backup documentation that supports the effort behind it. And so you want to go through and scrutinize that information, read it, make sure I understand it, and then it requires follow-up questions. And that's really, again, at the committee level, an opportunity for counselors to ask a lot of detailed questions. And it's also an opportunity for the town staff, who are experts in whatever the matter is, to provide us answers. And sometimes you don't always have all the answers all at once. So, it allows a back and forth and a dialogue between the town staff and the town council, so that we make sure, again, we're doing the business of the town on behalf of the residents in a way that is professional and efficient, and that I can answer residents' questions. So sometimes if we have a matter before us, I might solicit questions from residents. What do I need to know? What should I be asking on your behalf? What am I not thinking of? I only have one head, so I rely a lot on my constituents to help me with questions I should be asking, especially if it's an issue that I know a resident might have a particular expertise in or care an awful lot about. I try to do that amount of outreach whenever possible.
Okay, so this may be a loaded question, but what would you say are the biggest concerns that Braintree residents are currently facing? And you can just list them off. You don't have to explain them or go into super detail, but what would you say are some of the biggest ones?
I would say that if on any given week, probably the biggest or the most frequent concern I get from residents is around traffic and pedestrian safety. Vehicle speeding, crosswalks, unsafe sidewalks or broken sidewalks. That, again, when I think about why local government is so important, because those are your day in and day out quality of life matters. Another frequent concern that is raised is Americans with Disability Act, ADA, accessibility issues. I have a lot of residents in my district who don't always have a car, a lot of wheelchair users and pedestrians, and we want to make sure that all areas of town are accessible, and we're doing the best we can to accommodate all of our residents' needs. So I think if just right off the top of my head, like those are two of the most frequent concerns that I help residents address. And I'll also put a little plug in for anyone on our town's website. I always try to let people know you can report an issue through C-Click-Fix. It's a great intuitive website where you can note the location, take a photo of the issue, whether it's a broken sidewalk, or I know I reported one the other day where the crosswalk light wasn't working. It will automatically route the concern to the correct department in town. It will generate a number, like, it's number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then send your counselor the number, and we can help, elevate that concern.
Okay, so is that the best way to get a counselor to address a concern or issue like that? Or what are some other ways that residents can actually contact their counselors?
Yep, that's a great question because we report to you, we report to the residents. And so on the town website, braintreema.gov, the town council has our own webpage. There you will find our email addresses and our phone number. So you can email us, you can call us. All council meetings are open to the public, so you can come and attend a meeting if you want, or watch it on BCAM. So I think, but through the town website, again, our email and our phone numbers are on there, and we're available through both of those means.
Great. Okay, so just to go off that a little bit more, earlier you had explained a little bit about how if there is a concern coming from, or if there's something that the town council needs to address from the mayor's office, there may be like a memo or something on that. What concerns, or what would normally, like, how big does a concern or an issue have to be to come from the mayor's office for you guys to address?
So the mayor, whatever the mayor's agenda is and the mayor's goals, those are the issues that if they need legislative, the council's the legislative arm of our local government, if they need legislative approval, will come to the council. So that means frequently it's things that have to do with spending. That comes to the council. Approval of mayoral appointments comes to the council, and sometimes there's things that are time specific, if the mayor's office has applied for a grant and we need to confirm that the town is willing to match funds, for an example, that's something that we would act upon in a timely fashion to make sure we didn't lose that on grant funding and grant money. And then there's some items that require multiple approvals. So our community preservation projects, our Community Preservation Act projects, that requires first an application to be written. Then that has to go through our Community Planning Commission or Committee. Those members are appointed by the mayor. Then if they approve it, it goes to our Ways and Means Council Committee, and then it goes to the town council. So there's lots of different mechanisms for what is coming to the council for a voting matter, and sometimes it's just informational too. We don't vote on everything that we hear. Sometimes we just are gathering information, listening and learning.
Okay, so as a whole, for residents, it's probably easiest or best to go to your local counselor or your district counselor to actually take care of anything that might be of concern to residents.
They can, first stop, I would say your district or at-large, any of the at-large counselors. You can also call the mayor's office directly as well. But we have a great counselors, and I know that's a great way to sort of start a conversation on issues of concerns.
Absolutely. Okay, so we only have a few minutes left. I do want to get a little bit into the tree ordinance and what that is. So could you just give me a little bit on what the tree ordinance is and expand on what it
I would be excited to do that, because that actually started with residents contacting me about trees that had been taken down along Washington Street and South Braintree Square. And so over the last almost 2 years since that was brought to my attention, I thought, well, I need to look into this. Why did those trees get cut down? Why didn't anybody know they were getting cut down? Are they being replaced? And throughout that process, and working with those residents and keeping them informed, I realized Braintree does not have had not, up until recently, had its own tree protection ordinance that other municipalities have. So I'm so excited after 18 months of drafting an ordinance, learning a lot about the process of writing an ordinance, working with the mayor and his staff and my colleagues on the council and residents and associations and BELD and lots of community input. We were just last week passed the tree protection ordinance, which will apply to public trees. It does not apply to people's yards or private property, but our town-owned trees along our town's public ways or in our public spaces like schools or French's Common or our parks and playgrounds. So if a tree does need to come down, residents will be notified. There will be a notice tacked up to the trees that are coming down at least 7 days before they're taken down. There will be a public meeting will be held so that residents are aware, and there's also a mechanism in place that those trees will need to be replaced. So it's really a way to respond to, sometimes trees have to come down for lots of different reasons, but if they are going to come down, we need a plan in place. Residents need to know, and we need a plan in place to replace them.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know you said residents came to you about this actually. So why did you actually take action on it? Why do you feel like it's important right now?
Well, I think that it was a really important environmental initiative. Braintree has heat islands that are mapped heat islands by the state. That's areas in town where there's lots of asphalt, not a lot of tree canopy. So that was one impetus. And we also know that trees, they're great for public health, they're great for property values, they really add to the aesthetics of the town. And the third reason is because I really want to make sure that I'm communicating with residents and that people know what's happening and when and why in town. And it is alarming if an old, beautiful tree comes down and you have no idea why and you have no idea what's going to happen next. So for all those reasons, I decided that this was an important thing to pursue.
Absolutely. Okay, so that is about all the time we have. Is there any other comments you want to make before?
I am just very appreciative of the time from BCAM. I have no end of ability to talk about all the great things the town is doing, and we'll look forward to future conversations. So thank you so much for having me, Martha.
Great. Thank you so much for joining us, Meredith. It was an amazing time. Again, that was District 5 Town Councilor and Council President Meredith Boericke, and I'm Martha Constantinides. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.